Sadnam. We are Jen and Ramtin from Heart Center Revolution.
Our intention with this podcast is to share the best of Kundalini Yoga and conscious living with you so you can live a more heart-centered life. Satnam, and welcome to episode 47 of the Heart Centered Revolution podcast. We took a little break last week because it was a holiday week here in the States. And we're working on getting caught up or kind of getting ahead of ourselves. So we have a couple episodes kind of ready to go, but I'm not sure when we're going to get there. So just as a heads up that as we get into holiday season, it's September, sometime out November. But anyways, as we get into the holiday season, like the third week of November, Christmas and New Year weeks, we might skip a week or two around there as we get busy and go out of town. But our aim is to have a new episode out for you every week. So please keep that in mind. I try to put them out on Tuesdays, but sometimes for tech reasons or just childcare things or things come up, it doesn't come out till Wednesday or Thursday. But just so you know, you can expect us to be there, most weeks. All right, so let's talk about this episode. So Ramtin and I coming back and relaunching Heart Center Revolution podcast. We wanted to do another episode where we talk about Heart Center Revolution, kind of what that means to us, what this podcast and the movement means to us, and kind of the meaning of it, so that new listeners that haven't gone back and listened to like the second episode ever have an idea of what we're about and what our mission really is. And in this conversation, you can hear the inspiration for my new shift to call all of you, all the listeners to our podcast and our students, just to collectively call us revolutionaries. So we can really tap into that feeling and inspiration of doing something or shifting an old pattern of, and we'll talk more about it, but shifting old patterns and kind of seeing ourselves as leaders and light bearers for this newer way of interacting with ourselves and with others. And so if you are listening to this, you are a revolutionary and welcome to the community. And after our discussion about Heart Center Revolution, Ramtin and I thought it might be fun to answer a couple silly icebreaker questions. I just thought it would be fun to share a different side of ourselves with you. So let us know what you think, if you want more of that or if you just want us to stick to Kundalini Yoga. And then at the very end, as usual, I will lead you through a short pranayam. Today, we're going to do breath of fire. One of the most commonly practiced pranayams. It really boosts your energy, supercharges your aura. So we'll talk more about some of the benefits. And I chose it because I need a little breath of fire today. I need a little boost for my afternoon. And so I'm looking forward to doing it right along with you. All right, we'll get into the episode here. All right, so for today's conversation, we're going to talk about Heart-Centered Revolution. We're going to talk about the podcast Heart-Centered Revolution or our business Heart-Centered Revolution. We're going to talk about what the term means, and then we're going to talk about why it's so important at this time. And then at the end, we thought it might be fun to just answer a couple of silly questions to share a little bit of another side of us. You hear us as teachers, kind of holding space as Kundalini Yoga teachers, but we thought it would be fun to share another side of us. So just to talk about the podcast and our yoga business. So Ramtin and I, we're married, we're husband and wife now, we have a baby, but we actually met in 2012 when we were doing teacher training. And so we met doing yoga teacher training, and that was just such a transformational year for each of us. We actually didn't start dating until after the year was over. I think we were both focused on ourselves and our personal growth. And then a few months after teacher training ended, we started dating, and we knew pretty much right away that it was going to be serious and kind of be the real thing. So and then we spent about a year just getting to know each other and settling into our relationship. And I would say about a year and a half after we got together, we started talking about, our lives and our passions and our purpose. And we both really identified with teaching Kundalini Yoga. And then we were talking about our why, and we really started to tap into that this world is going through a shift, and kind of we felt our small pieces of that bigger shift was to share these teachings that had so deeply transformed our lives. But then we also, Ramtin's a hypnotherapist, and I'm a marriage and family therapist. So we have a lot of other information and wisdom that we can, like a lens through which we can see Kundalini Yoga that's a little bit unique. So we just felt so inspired to teach Kundalini Yoga and other conscious practices in a way that is practical and relatable. And yeah, it's a little woo woo if you're familiar with that term, but kind of grounded woo woo, I think, is our lane. And we just felt so called because we see that we felt at that time, or saw that that was a niche that we could fill for people that were grounded and were working and weren't ready to be full-blown yogis, practicing 2.5 hours a day, but really wanted to implement some of the wisdom from these practices into their daily life to help raise their consciousness, tap into their intuition. And then we'll talk a little bit later about the big picture, about what's going on worldwide, that really compels us to move forward with Heart Center Revolution. But as we were talking about names, Ramtin came up with the name Heart Center Revolution. I would love to take credit for it, but I can't because Ramtin came up with it. So he'll share a little bit about what the word means to him, or what the title means to him.
Yes. Hello, everyone. So, yeah, we were both thinking about the name, and we knew that we definitely wanted to include heart. And the message we wanted to send was and is to do live a heart-centered life. And by using our heart, that's the best way to get out of the mental aspect of who we are, and just completely not live completely in that mental state, which is very polarized. So, simply by becoming more heart-centered, we tap into that nature of who we are as human beings that is less polarized. That's obviously being compassionate, being kinder, being more loving. Those are the qualities, the true qualities, and the important, and our true value that we bring in as human beings comes from the heart-centeredness. And that true value is sort of being put on the back burner in a way, only sort of become part of entertainment business, or in some ways utilized only to use the human emotion to be sold to be, to be influenced in a way, not to really thrive in a way and connect and live up to our potentials. So that mental capacity that we have, our mindsets, our mental power, is amazing. What we could do with it as human beings, and is necessary, obviously is necessary. However, we always thought, and we shared this among each other, and how we connected, as Jen briefly talked about, how we got to know each other, and the attraction between us. Everything was through that heart-centeredness. It wasn't anything that it wasn't calculated at all, anything like that, or we didn't really kind of. It wasn't like, what benefit we get from this relationship, as opposed to how we feel, how we complete each other in some ways that is not tangible. Really, we cannot really talk about that so much. If you asked us, it's more of a sort of inner knowing. So, we wanted to really show that side of us, or share, better said, share that side of us with everyone else. That, as Jen mentioned, our background, we do know a little bit about how the mind works, how the psychology, the subconscious mind, which is an important aspect of who we are, and it really influences our our behavior, and therefore our belief system and our thoughts and personalities. However, what we want to present in these episodes, and with what we share, the materials that we would share, is how can we uh, become a more complete being in this during this human life, as by tapping into our heart center. So simply being heart centered is to get out of your head and truly bring joy. How, if we notice in our life, how the times that we are most joyful and happy is times that obviously we're not, you know, obligated to do a task, or to be worried about our career, our jobs and responsibilities, right? All of those are very much you know uh, comes from our logical aspect of who we are, that we need to address. uh, so simply by being, this heart center revolution, um, it's is multifold. Obviously, the first part, the most important part, is how we address our own state of consciousness, and how we could bring joy and satisfaction and a different way of living life into our own consciousness and our own state of being, by becoming more heart centered. And that really changes our perspective of what this life is worth for us. And as we do that, as we learn to do that for ourselves, as we learn, understand, and tap into the different aspects of who we are as human beings, we truly value our life differently. We still are going to be, you know, we still have to do the things that we need to do, as far as, working, making money and business and career and everything else, paying attention to what's going on in our society, in our politics, and all that. That's this gonna it's part of who we are, part of our life. We cannot close our eyes and kind of turn our back to what's going on. But at the same time, as we learn the true value within ourselves, who we are, and how we could contribute to the wellness of uh, obviously who to joy and our own well-being, but also to the how we could add and contribute to the wellness of others, well-being of everyone around us, our immediate environment, and community, and so on and so forth. Then there's something will shift within our consciousness. Something will shift, and that shift that we create within ourselves and around ourselves, and then that right there paves the pathway for the generations as they come and come to this earth, to follow that pathway, to kind of be part of that consciousness, not only the material aspect of we sort of value and pay attention to so much. And there's going to be a merge, and that's where the revolution part is there's going to be a merge of a more conscious way of merging the two aspects of who we are, the joy, the heart centeredness of who we are, the joy of the love of what we bring in as human beings to life, for each other, for our families, for what we have, what we're passionate about, and what exists, the systems that exist in society that need to be there for their own purpose. there's going to be a merge, and that merge is truly going to bring that sense of freedom, that sense of unity that we all sort of are so, we want so much and so thirsty for.
That's so true. And just to reiterate, we live in this society and this culture that values your mental prowess, values your logical mind, and values, how much money you make, your income, that type of a thing. There's a surface level status that is gained by those things. But that's what makes heart-centered revolution so important, is those things don't make us happy. They don't satisfy our soul. And so we have to very consciously kind of counteract the society and the societal conditioning we've been going through in order to move into our relationship to self, our relationship to others, our relationship to God or Mother Nature. And that's what we mean by heart-centered revolution, is getting out of the mental space where all of our conditioning and dualities, where our fears and anxieties, like that all exists in our mind. If you can move down into your heart, that's where empathy, compassion, joy, and joy for no reason, like joy for just existing and being human on this planet, even with all that's kind of messed up right now. Like if you tap into your soul, you can tap into joy just for the sake of joy. It just is there no matter what is going on in the world or in your life. And that's kind of what we mean by heart-centered revolution, is getting out of that conditioned mind, getting out of the conditioning of current day society and moving inward, moving into something else and raising our consciousness.
Absolutely. And, there are not everyone, of course, values the material life more than their non-material life. Let's put it that way. I don't want to say spiritual life, because then there's different meaning to that, but for different people. But there's nothing wrong with valuing your material life. But if the material life is only sort of valued through, the value of dollar or whatever currency, then we
Or
end
status.
up, or status, we only end up valuing that particular thing, which is, is not supposed to be, utilized as such, which is dollar, right? Our whole mentality, everything is just focused on that. And, Jen said it perfectly, the way she described what heart-centered revolution is about. It's, again, just simply create that realization within us first and foremost, and who we are, how we do bring about the joy that we deserve, that we came here on this earth to experience, and then allow that individual consciousness to be spread and shared with everyone around us. And as we do that, then we truly, maybe gradually, we don't know the speed of it, it depends on mass consciousness and other aspects that we don't want to get into, but we truly are paving the pathway for the whole human consciousness and the earth consciousness to move a direction beyond the prison that we create in our mind, that's very limited to the material, economical, political life that we have.
Yeah, like quite literally, in order to survive the next 50 to 100 years, the human species has to change. We have to do something different. And living from the heart center, making the shift to living from the heart center, a more compassionate, empathetic way of being, is the way we're going to have to do that. And it's just going to, like Ramtin said, it's like dominoes, right? Like you raise your consciousness and you elevate your vibration, and that's going to impact the people around you, whether they're doing it consciously or not. So you can do it consciously, and just your vibration and the way you connect with people, it's like dominoes, and it's going to knock down. And once we get to a certain percentage, then there will be a shift. And so this is really the big picture of what's going on. We've been talking about it in our podcast series about this transition to the Aquarian age, about these times and how intense they are, and kind of how we navigate them and survive them with joy and grace is by shifting into our heart center. But that's also how we as a species survive this transition, is enough of us have to make this shift and become leaders of this way of being and show people what it looks like and inspire people to follow the same. Again, it might not all be conscious for everybody, but if you're listening to this, it is conscious for you. If you're listening to these episodes, like, you are a revolutionary. You are making a conscious effort to live life differently than we've all been conditioned to believe it works, and to learn information and be inspired to do it differently. And so if you're listening to this, like, you're revolutionary, you're making these changes, whether you're at the very beginning of your growth journey, whether you've been on it for decades, does not matter. We just need people moving in this direction. And I bet you've inspired people that you don't even know you've inspired, with your shifts and the work that you've done. And so that's kind of the big picture, or the purpose, I think, behind Heart Center Revolution, our podcast, and the teachings we want to share. All right. So that was our discussion about Heart Center Revolution. I know we did one, I think, in the beginning, one of the first couple of episodes, but it was fun to revisit for those of you who have joined us since then and haven't gone back. And it's a little bit of whiplash, but I wanted to now get into a little fun conversation. I was listening to a podcast, one of my favorite podcasts. And one of my favorite parts is when the hosts kind of talk about their personal lives and share a little bit of insight into kind of their stuff. And I know Ramtin and I share about our spiritual journeys, but I just thought it might be fun to answer some like icebreaker type questions and share a little bit of us that's not yoga related. So here are the answers to those questions and kind of the conversation Ramtin and I had about that. And let me know if this is something that was fun or interesting to you to kind of get this glimpse into our personalities. Let me know. Or if you just think we should focus on being teachers and staying in that mode, let me know that too. I'm really open to feedback. All right. We love you. Here's the questions. So we thought we'd end this episode or this discussion with something a little bit fun. I found two kind of silly icebreaker questions that Ramtin and I will both answer. And so the first one is, Ramtin, how long do you think you would last in a zombie apocalypse?
I don't know. I want to say I wouldn't last a minute, but I could be pretty resilient. I could defend myself and just kind of like, from like a combat point of view standpoint, I was like, yeah, I could handle myself. I could last for a while, but then I would, not knowing much about zombies, I would try to convert them to be very heart-centered and see how much that would last.
So classically Ramtin, like, you think you can, or like you want to teach and like not change everybody, but you want to improve everyone around you. So you would try to improve the zombies. Oh my God, that's such a good response. Okay, I would not last like 3 days. To be honest, I'm assuming in this apocalypse, there's like creature comforts are gone. Like, if I could just lock myself, there was that one show where a guy, like, there was an apocalypse of some sort, and he just like locked himself in a mansion and he had access to food and like DVDs. Like, I could do that. But if we're lacking like good fresh food and my creature comforts are gone, I don't think I last very long. Like, I enjoy a comfortable, like, I enjoy the things that bring me joy and comfort. And I'm trying to think of the right word, but I try to enjoy every moment of my life, pleasure, and have like pleasure in my life. I watch cozy shows that make me feel good. I like to walk by the beach and like, I don't think I'm very rugged. I don't know. I'm resilient if something's temporary, but if it's this like indefinite struggle, I just don't see myself being set up for that. But I'm curious what you think, Rompton. Do you think I would last very long in a zombie apocalypse?
I think so. You have a very strong mind and willpower, so I think you do well. You do better than I
Mm.
probably could.
um, okay, Rompton. So second question, this is the last one we'll do. But what did you get into the most trouble for when you were a kid?
Oh gosh, I've been told that like under the age of 5, I was kind of a rebel. So, and I don't remember what troubles I may have got into. I've done a lot of, crazy stuff, I guess. But like past that age of 5 and older, in my teens, actually, I was kind of a calmer and well-rounded person. But what comes to mind is for temporarily we lived in a duplex on the second floor, and the staircase was kind of wide and roomy, and there was a break uh, in the middle there. And my dad bought a bicycle for himself. It's like sort of a crossover, speed and cruiser. It's a nice bike for that time. And he bought it for himself, and I'm pretty sure he had me in mind that when I grow older, got taller, I could ride it. But at the time, well, I did grow, and for a teenager, I was kind of a tall teenager, so I was tall enough to ride it. And a couple of times when I came back home, I left it like on the staircase, in this, and not bring it all the way up to the apartment. And he kept telling me, hey, either lock it, use the lock it. There were some bars there, lock it on the bars, or just bring it all the way up. And I said, okay. And but what I did was, if I came home for a little break, grab some water or something to drink or eat, snack or something, I just kind of, nobody's gonna touch this. I just brought it up halfway, left it on the stairs, and just ran back in, grabbed something, and then came out. Well, one time it was like, it was middle of the afternoon, and I brought it back up halfway, not bringing it up all the way. Didn't lock it because I was thinking I'm going to go back out. I don't know what happened, but I stayed in, didn't go back out. And sure enough, someone came and took the bike, stole the bike. And I got a good beating. Not a good beating, but just like, yeah, I was, I was disciplined.
Yeah, you told me that story before. I didn't remember that it was actually your dad's bike, though. That's funny.
I was my dad's bike, yeah. It was green. I remember the color was green color.
I remember that as a kid. Like, you just don't think that things like that are going to happen to you.
I
You don't think
know.
your bike's going to get stolen. You don't think your wallet's going to get stolen. And it just, the first time it happens is such a rupture of that, like, naive, mindset.
Yeah, well, that was the harshest my dad reacted to my mistakes and troublemaking. He always like, uh, yelled at me or talked very firmly to me. But that time, because I don't know what it was, but he just thought that I just disregarded what he said. But I
Yeah.
didn't. I actually was, and from the time he really had to talk till that happened, it was a while. But I always, I was mindful of not doing that, bringing it up all the way or locking it up. I mean, it takes a minute to lock it up. But I don't know. I just thought I'm gonna be right back, and I didn't. Something happened. I stayed in. I didn't go back
Yeah.
out. Maybe some came on TV or something. I don't know.
Oh, that's funny. Mine is similar. I was in high school. I was like, followed all the rules. Well, not all the rules, I guess, when I was younger, but I was a pretty good rule follower at home. But my mom also gave me like a lot of leeway and a lot of freedom. She kind of, her mindset was if I got good grades and kind of went to practice because I was a diver, that I was doing great. And so I don't know, she had rose-colored glasses on, I guess, because I went out with friends a lot. I had a few really good friends, but we would, drink alcohol and do things that we shouldn't have done in high school or at that age. And so one weekend, my mom and stepdad went out of town and they left my little sister with me. So I was probably 15. My sister was 16. Sorry, I have a correction to make to this story. I was 15 and my sister was 5, which will make the rest of the story make much more sense. I misspoke saying she was 16. I was 15 and she was 5. And here we'll go back to the story I was saying. And we decided to have a party. I felt peer pressure to have people over. I thought it would be fun. That was just kind of like what you did when your parents went out of town. So we had people over and we had a 2-story room. Like our living room was 2 stories and there was a loft in the living room. It's kind of hard to describe. But we took apart the big trampoline we had in the backyard and put it in the living room for some reason so we could jump off the loft and bounce on the trampoline. And now looking back, I'm like so thankful that no one got hurt. Like that would have been terrible. So we had this party with the trampoline in the living room. My 5-year-old sister was there for the whole thing and just like, I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know how I thought I was going to get away with this. And so, the next day we disassemble the trampoline, put it back together, clean everything up, but I'm terrible at cleaning. So I'm sure I left plenty of evidence around. But that didn't matter because my parents came home and my sister, who I, like an idiot, thought was 5 and it wouldn't occur to her to say anything, just straight up just tells my mom and stepdad how much fun she had. We had a party and they brought the trampoline in. And so she my 5-year-old sister basically, understandably, told them the whole story and how much fun she had. And then of course my mom and stepdad found, a couple beer bottles and some cigarette butts. And so that was the thing I got in the biggest amount of trouble for. I think mostly because my sister was there and my mom wasn't obviously a big fan of underage drinking, but that was the big thing. But now it's just funny. It's become legendary in my family and it gets brought up. Anytime someone new comes in to socialize with our family and I'm there, the story somehow gets brought up. So it's kind of funny now about how we put the trampoline in the living room. But that's definitely the thing I got in the most trouble for. That and no, we'll just stick with that. That's fine. Okay, so I think that's it for our discussion for this episode, unless there's anything else you want to share, Ramtin.
No. I just, I'm sad that I missed the party.
I think it was fun. I don't know. I'm sure it was fun. It was fun. It's such a funny thing. I can't believe that I didn't assess the risk of that correctly. But again, we were talking about as teenagers, you don't think anything bad's going to happen. It literally didn't occur to me that something bad could happen having people who had been drinking jumping off of a 2nd-story loft onto a trampoline in the 1st story. All right, that's it for our discussion for this episode. And we'll transition into our pranayam of breath of fire today. So bring yourself to an uprighted seated position. You can roll your shoulders up, back, and down. You can rest your hands in your lap. If you're familiar with Ego Eradicator, you can take that position if you'd like to do Ego Eradicator right now. And so for breath of fire, I guess we should cover the pranayam in case we have some people who've never done it. For breath of fire, you're going to take short puffs, an inhale and an exhale of air through your nose. And it's powered by your abdomen. So you'll inhale and your tummy will fill up. And then you'll do a powerful exhale. And then you'd kind of just relax your abdomen and let the inhale come in. And then pull the navel back for the exhale. And so it will eventually get to a rhythm like this. But if you're new to this, you want to go a little slower and you can just inhale abdomen out Exhale, navel back to spine. Inhale. Okay, so feel free to take a slower pace, especially if you feel like you're getting out of breath or if you're getting dizzy. And the key for Breath of Fire is to focus on the exhale. So pull your navel back to the spine, get a full exhale, and then let the inhale happen naturally. And so both of these are through the nose, and it is like a fluttered breath with your navel, so powered by the navel. All right, so we'll do a couple regular breaths and then we'll get into Breath of Fire. And while we're doing Breath of Fire, I will share some of the benefits. All right, so sitting up nice and tall, rolling those shoulders up, back and down. Crown of the head is nice and tall. Chin is tucked down and back. There is a drishti, so if your eyes, open your eyes 9/10, like just barely open, but then focus your eyes, your gaze, up towards the crown of your head. And if this is too advanced for you, please feel free to close your eyes and focus at the third eye. But the official meditative posture is your eyes open just 9/10, like just a crack. So there's a little light coming through, but then you roll your actual eyes up. All right, and then let's take a couple breaths here. Inhaling, belly, ribs, and chest. Exhaling, chest, ribs, and belly. One more inhale and we'll begin Breath of Fire. Okay, exhale. Now begin Breath of Fire. A rhythmic breath, pumping your navel, in and out through the nose. Continue breathing like this while I talk about some of the benefits. So Breath of Fire, it releases toxins. It helps expand your lung capacity and increases your vital strength, that sense of life force within you. It helps to strengthen your nervous system so you can tolerate stress better. It repairs the balance between your sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. So the system that is responding to stress and the system that cultivates relaxation is often out of balance. We're often responding to stress more than we are relaxing. And this Breath of Fire can help recalibrate those two parts of our nervous system. Breath of Fire helps to strengthen our navel chakra, our sense of will and action and moving through this world. It increases our physical endurance, and it helps to magnetize our aura and increase the density of our aura so that we can be more impactful on the people around us and so that their moods can be less impactful on us. It creates almost an energetic, it's both a shield and a projector. Breath of Fire helps increase oxygen delivery to your brain, helps you be more focused, and helps you activate that neutral state of mind instead of bouncing from positive to negative. It helps boost your immune system and helps synchronize a lot of your body rhythms. And so there's a lot going on here with Breath of Fire. So continue practicing as you feel the energy build in your body, in your aura, in your breath. Remember to go at your own pace, which might be more. And you want to make sure that as you inhale, your stomach is extending out. And as you inhale, it's coming in. Okay, take a full exhale, inhaling deeply. Sitting up nice and tall, suspending the breath, pulling on root lock, directing the energy up the central channel of your body, out the crown of your head, eyes focused at the third eye, letting all the energy you created move up and out. Exhale, relax your breath, relax your body, keeping your eyes closed. Just checking in with your mental, emotional, and spiritual self. What just a couple minutes of breath of fire did for you. And blink your eyes open. Now, breath of fire I find to be one of those pranayams that I need in my daily life. I need in my regular life off the mat the most. So if I'm feeling low energy, if I'm going to go into a session and I think that I'm feeling vulnerable or sensitive, a breath of fire is a great breath to do to build up that aura so you have a little energetic protection around you. And then it just boosts your energy if you're feeling low, not mood-wise, but just, you know what I mean, energetic, a little tired. Breath of fire can be a great boost for that. All right, Revolutionaries. That is it for episode 47 of the Heart-Centered Revolution podcast. As a reminder, we have 2 free programs you can take advantage of. One is a 5-day introduction to Kundalini Yoga. It's called Kundalini Yoga Essentials. It's a 20-minute practice each day for 5 days, and it gives you a really good foundation of Kundalini Yoga practices. So one of the practices in there is breath of fire. So if you want to learn more about that, or if you just want to sit down and hear more detailed instruction and guidance on how to do it, because it can be tricky, that's available. That tutorial is part of the Kundalini Yoga Essentials program. But if you're more interested in meditation and you want to just jumpstart like a home meditation practice, then we have a program called 10 Days of Kirtan Kriya, where you sign up, you get an instructional video about Kirtan Kriya, which is one of the most popular meditations in Kundalini Yoga. And then every day for 10 days, you have a practice to do. So we sit down and guide you through a practice. We do your 10-day practice with you. And so that gives you a nice jump start into a home practice if you've been wanting to meditate regularly, but you just haven't been able to get going. So I'll put links to both of those programs in the description for this episode. So you can just look there and click on through and sign up. They're totally free. And yeah, we'd love to support you and support your home practice. All right. Thank you so much for joining us. We love you so much. And don't forget to be revolutionary. Sat Nam.